How you doing, folks? Corclops here. And while everyone else is out there showing you sailing methods that are probably patched by the time that you watch their videos, I thought it would be kind of fun to show you how I've been making money with this update. I haven't seen anyone else posting any videos about lava StrykeWorms yet, and as you can see, I have put Mr. No Sleep to shame on his 1000 KC video that just came out. He got 1 dragon metal sheet in 1000 KC, I got 10 in 2200, and until I saw his video, I genuinely thought that the drop rate on the wiki was wrong, and that maybe it was a 1 in 256 instead, for obvious reasons. Also, this says 14.7 mil, but that's assuming that these are 1.5 mil, and assuming that I've actually looted these bones, and I have not. So this should actually be about 10 mil, but the 10 of these that I got sold between 9.8 mil, and I think the most expensive one was 24 million coins. So it ended up averaging to 150 mil or so for 10 of those. Now, they've obviously dropped a little bit since then because people have already got 99 sailing, and as soon as everyone got up to, or a lot of people got up to 87, they started fighting frost dragons that have a higher drop rate of these, around 1 in 160. Now, I haven't gotten to frost dragons because I stopped here and did some other content, and I've just been enjoying myself leveling sailing nice and slow. So if you're like me, or maybe if you started a little late and haven't no-lifed it and you're just about level 60-ish, this is going to be really good for you. So here's the setup. I'll go top to bottom here. If you have a worm task, you can wear a Slayer helm, but I intend on staying here a lot longer than 1 or 200 KC for one trip, so, you know, use whatever your highest strength gear is. We're going to be praying against these, and we're not going to take any damage. So something like Bandos is fine, something like Obsidian is fine. If you really don't have strength gear, you could wear Proselyte if you want to, because we're going to be camping prayers the entire time. Oathblade is not actually useful here over Bandos. I just don't have any. This is a stab weapon. This has a slash bonus. You get the idea. This isn't really useful. Ferocious gloves, Aranea boots, and either a strength ring or a light bearer. Now, you could totally get away with a Berserker ring, Venator ring, or Altor ring if you want to. No real issue with it. It's just this gives you twice as many specs, just in case you get a couple of unlucky Saradomin Godsword specs, or in case you want to throw a few Burning Claws now and then. So the idea of this basically all revolves around the Bone Crusher necklace. And what the Bone Crusher necklace does is has a really fun Z-axis thing with my armor right now, and it makes it look like it's behind the logo on Oathplate, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that each of these worms is going to drop 1 bone that when auto-buried while I'm wearing this necklace is going to give me 3 prey points back. It's also going to give me 60 prayer XP. So I'm going to get like 3,000 prayer XP an hour, basically, which isn't a lot, but it is when you consider that I'm not doing anything for it. It's also not the worst amulet in the world. It's 12 prayer, 2 strength, and 10 accuracy. So, I mean, at least there's that. This exact setup hits a max of 42 fully potted. If you have Venator ring, it'll hit a 44. If you're in max strength, I think it might be like a 48, something like that. Oh, I should probably have shown where I actually am. Whoops. So we are on Charred Island. Let me just... Where is the button? Okay. Apparently I'm too stupid to figure out how to open the map in full screen, but we are on Charred Island, which is just a little bit south of the Void Knight's outpost. Or if you'd rather, it is a little bit west of the Great Conch. Or just type in Charred Island, and it should come right up. You will need a rope to be able to get down here, but as soon as you've used it, it's there forever. If you zoom out the map and click on the eastern side, you'll auto-run there, but be aware you are going to run past both red and black dragons. I've never been really hit that hard by the dragonfire running through here, but I just pray mage and hope for the best. If you really want, you can pre-pot an anti-dragonfire potion. It's really not necessary. Or, I mean, I haven't found it to be so far. Maybe it is for you. We'll see. So the StrykeWorms have a ranged attack that they'll use as long as they're not within melee range, and as soon as they're in melee range, they will only use melee. Neither of these attacks will hit through prayer, and there are 2 areas to fight them in this quadrant that I'm in right now. I like the kind of northeastern room here because they're packed in a little bit closer and you don't end up with, like, I don't know, their aggro is a little bit weird, and you'll see that as you fight them more. But you just want to pray range while you're running around, pray melee while you're in here, sip a potion, And just for the sake of it, we're at 2281, and there's the loot. Let's see how we do. Matter of fact, I'll even go as far as resetting that. Okay, apparently not. Resetting that. Yes, there we go. We'll just reset everything. So, the reason that this setup is so good is that anytime that you lose HP, you just grab this, hit him with a spec, now you're full HP. If it doesn't hit him again. And I usually just leave auto retaliate on, just kind of let the StrykeWorms hit me, and usually it's, you know, the range attack can hit up to somewhere around a 10, I think, maybe a 7, something like that. But with decent melee armor on, you're going to have enough range defense that it's really an inconsequential amount of damage. And even if it does add up a little bit, you just throw a couple of Saradomin Godsword specs in there. You can bring supplies and use them if you really want to, but I tried a couple of different methods here, and I found this to be by far the best. Let's see. I don't actually know if you can burn them. I was trying a Void Waker before, so... Oh, I guess we're not fighting that one. So I'd hit a 1 and a 1. 6, 6, 12. It's kind of seeming like you wouldn't be able to burn something called a lava StrykeWorm, but hey, who am I to judge? Anyway, you can pretty much see that we're not going to use any supplies here whatsoever, because my 72 prayer goes right up to 75 as soon as I auto-bury the bone. And that's pretty much the whole thing. You just hang out here, and whenever your spec is high enough, or whenever your health is low enough, send a couple of SGS specs. I'll wait until maybe the next one, because this one doesn't have a lot of HP left, and I'm almost up to 50%. They don't really have a whole lot of great drops, but they do have some alkables. So I personally bring high alk spells. Oh, see, there you go. I hit a 0 with the SGS. That's why you want to hedge your bets and have, you know, you may want to do it with a light bearer just in case if you're getting used to it. Anyway, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm on the normal spell book. I got Fire, Nature, Law, and Mud Runes. The reason for that is high alk plus my boat teleport spell. While I was doing this initially, I would put my boat into a bottle as soon as I came into here, and then as soon as I got the drop, I would teleport out of here so that I could just bring my bottled boat with me. But because these aren't like 18 to 20 mil anymore, I probably am just going to stay until I run out of Divine Super Combats. The only other really notable thing is, because there's a whole bunch more of them out here, if you want to aggro reset, what you can do is just run straight to the south, and there's a sort of a room over here that I'll show as soon as I lose aggro, where there's a weird skeleton on the ground and a couple of chests. If you run anywhere in the general direction of that room, by the time that you get to the far side of the StrykeWorm spawn, you'll see one of them start attacking with range, and that's your indication that all the StrykeWorms are aggro again on you, and you can just get right back to it. Now, I don't know that it really makes a whole lot of sense to post an hour of lava StrykeWorms, but by God, I'm going to do it. I don't usually post an hour of anything videos. But I think this would be kind of an interesting one. Mostly because people can just sort of skip through and see how my inventory fills up as we go. You can see I'm a little bit low on HP here. It only has 29 health, so that probably wasn't my best choice, but I only hit a 24 anyway. The only thing that I don't bring that I probably should is the herb pouch, and the only reason I don't bring it is because through my own stupidity I ended up accidentally destroying mine like 2 years ago, and I just never went to go and get another one. So I'm willing to lose 5,700 coins on a Renar. I don't know about you, but I've already done enough Tithe Farm, I don't want to have to do it again. So these things do drop quite a few interesting items. They drop a few alkables like rune maces and things like that. But they also drop a lot of noted things. So I don't know if Jagex did this intentionally, but this seems like, to me at least, a really, really good place to train semi-AFK combat. Now, I'm already 99 most combats. I'm only 90 prayer. But if it wasn't 99, I would definitely use these to get my my last bit of defense XP or train a bit of strength or attack or something. Oh, and by the way, you can absolutely mage these. I've seen people fighting them with a Dragon Hunter wand, but it just seems like, why bother? You know what I mean? Like, why would you waste runes when you can do this? You think about this, so far since I got here, all I've used is 1 dose of super combat. I haven't used any food, I haven't used any charges from anything other than the Bone Crusher necklace. These 6 prey pots here are kinda just inventory fillers, so that it doesn't look like I'm bringing actually nothing over here. I mean, I'm down to 67 prayer, sure, but a couple good SGS hits will fix that right up. And even if it doesn't, if I have to use a sip of prey pot now and then, so what, you know? There we go, we hit a nice 41 there, and that brought me up to 75, and then killing this one will give me another 3 prayer back. 74, 77, 76. So that's what I mean, it really sustains well. You probably should take the noted coal, but I don't know, I've got my limits. I'm just not willing to bend over and pick up something that's worth like 600 GP. Oh, whoops. My Divine Super Combat ran out, so even taking the 10 damage from the Divine Super Combat, totally irrelevant as long as you've got a good spec weapon with you. Specifically this spec weapon. And as a bit of an aside, I never actually noticed this, but the Saradomin Godsword gives 8 prayer? Is that accurate? Yeah, it puts me up to 27. That feels ridiculous, but okay, sure. So we got a Lava Battle Staff. We'll get lots of those. That's a high alchable. Still a little bit curious if I can burn these guys. I'm going to throw another claw spec on this one. Ooh, 11, 11, 22. Decent. Mind you, thinking about it, that's only 2 damage higher than the max hit of the actual normal attack that I've got right now, so maybe I should just... Maybe I will just keep those for reserve. I'll just Saradomin Godsword spec. Not sure how much longer the aggro timer is going to be here. I think it's 15 minutes. So we should have another... We should be about halfway there so far. And just to check this, we are at 18 kills in under 10 minutes. So we'll say 20 kills in 10 minutes. Wouldn't be an unreasonable guess there. Or about 30 seconds per kill. Or about 120 an hour if you want to look at it that way. They also drop these fire orbs, and I don't know about you, but I can't unsee them looking like a doorknob. So, yeah, that's not useful information, but they drop doorknobs. Big red doorknobs. What are we talking about again? Oh yeah, Lava StrykeWorms. I gotta tell you, this is quite the model. I'm not a RuneScape 3 enjoyer, so these are new to me. But maybe the RuneScape 3 crowd can answer this one. Is that supposed to be eyes on the sides of their head? Because these are the goofiest looking eyes I've seen on possibly any enemy. Like, I'm just not totally sure what I'm looking at here. The mouth makes some sense. It's got sort of a lower jaw. But if that's actually its eyes, they might as well just put googly eyes on these things. Honestly, if a RuneLite plugin comes out that puts googly eyes on them that move around while they do their headbutt attack, I am 100% installing that plugin. I've gotten 3 light bulbs in a row, so fire orbs, whatever they are. That's not great, but every once in a while we'll get a drop that's worth a few mil. So again, that's the real appeal here. It isn't necessarily a good thing or a bad thing that they're this AFK, it's just... What these basically are is AFK gargoyles with a drop that's a couple of mil. It's like AFK gargoyles with a whip drop, if that makes it make more sense to you. I'm a little bit low on HP. We go from, I think it was 71 to 91, just like that. And the reason that I'm comparing these to gargoyles, if you've ever AFK'd gargoyles, if you're being efficient with it, it's maybe a little over a mil an hour. Ooh, rune cannonballs. But it's realistically, if you're being AFK, if you're off task, it's like 700, maybe 800,000 coins an hour. That's probably about what I'm getting here. Just grabbing the calculator and doing some napkin math. So we had done 2,200 of them previously. And it looks like I'm doing at least 120 an hour, so that'd be 18.3 hours. Yeah, so I was probably making about 600,000 coins in tertiary drops while I was fighting these before. And I'm not going to continue to fight these for a long time. I am probably eventually going to go back to leveling up sailing. But it's just kind of nice to have a really AFK-able monster like this. Like, don't ruin knives. I marked a couple of things that were below the value threshold to show up on the ground with my current setting, so if you see something purple, that's all that is. Well, these do drop some very useful items. Not really sure how much use they are for things like Iron Ben, but tons of rune darts, tons of rune knives, decent amount of rune cannonballs, pretty solid amount of high alkables. The runite ore drops every once in a while, and I think they can drop more than one at once. Kind of looks like I might have lost aggro, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send one more spec here. 39, nice. And I'm going to let my super combat run out while I finish this one off. So whether or not I have aggro or not, what I'm going to do is run south and show you the aggro reset. And that's just some law runes. So I'm going to pray range, because as soon as they aggro on me, if they're not in melee range, they are going to attack with a ranged attack. See, that one attacks with range. Now I know they're all back to aggressive, and it's single-way combat. You cannot cannon here, you cannot Venator bow here. Well, I imagine you maybe can, but it's not going to be in, it's not going to work like it's supposed to. And we're back to getting headbutt for the next 10 minutes or so. So I'll hit a Divine Super Combat, and this is what I mean. As you can see, I've used effectively nothing in my supplies. You might have watched this earlier on and been like, oh, well, you're down to like 65 prayer or so. How are you going to get your prayer back? Well, I'm actually gaining prayer if I actually remember to spec every time that I can. Back up to 73. And I mean, there have been no cuts in this so far. We're doing it live, effectively. All these prey pots are still on 4s. So, what I was talking about earlier when I was coming into this room about their aggro being kind of weird, I don't know if it's that they can block each other or if they just don't have a very large aggro radius from one another. But I found when I tried to sort of stand out here, a lot of the time what would happen is they would just stop attacking me until I took a couple of steps. And I don't think they can see around each other, basically. I don't know if that's what it is. I don't know if it's just because there's a little bit of an obstacle here and a kind of a diagonal that they can't, like, I don't know. There's some definite strangeness with their pathing. But in this room, I find it works a lot better. Not really sure what else to say about these things. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I've missed. They are fairly weak to pretty much everything, honestly. They really don't have much in the way of defenses, and they're completely unable to attack through prayers. I believe they're weak to... is it Earth? I don't know why it'd be Earth. Oh no, sorry, it's Krakens that are weak to Earth. Obviously, these guys are weak to water. Now, there is one entry on the wiki, and one that I believe actually specifically comes from the news post that introduced these fellows. And it talks about how some spells will weaken them, and some spells will make them stronger. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't got a goddamn clue what that means. I don't know if that means maybe if you use fire spells on them, then they gain bonus stats or something, but I don't know. I tried using the Dragon Hunter wand and using water spells on them at first, and I felt it was a little underwhelming. If it had a maxed like a 60 or something, that would have been one thing, but it just didn't feel like it was worth my while to use up Wrath runes when I can use up practically nothing. Every once in a while, my Bone Crusher might actually say that it's, yeah, and about, well, after, oh, hey, look at that, Dragon Metal Sheet. After the next kill, it'll probably say 12,100 charges left in chat, but that's real easy to get that sorted out. So we got a dragon metal sheet in... These are 5 minutes each, so less than 15 minutes. Might as well keep going. So here's a bit of a depressing thought for the Mr. No Sleep video, actually. He did not get any more than that. Like, he got one dragon metal sheet in 1000 KC. I got one in 38. So, I don't know what the hell it is with my luck in these things. I feel like I should just stay here for a week, honestly. And as long as these things are like 4 and 5 mil a piece, I just might. I don't think these are going to stay very high, though. These dragon metal sheets are mostly just high right now because a lot of people are starting to get into the tiers of boats where you need dragon sheets, dragon nails, dragon parts. But the thing of it is, one dragon sheet gives you 15 dragon nails, but there's dragon nails dropping from the ice dragons on the level 87 sailing island now. So there isn't really a whole lot to keep this a valuable item. But let's be honest here. Let's say that it drops down to a mil. If I'm getting 120 kills an hour, and it's a 1 in 512, which I don't actually think that it is, but, I mean, if it's a 1 in 512, that's still an extra, fair chunk of change on top of something that's, in my opinion, less annoying to fight than gargoyles, because the aggro is a little bigger on these. I probably didn't need to bring this many prey pots thinking about it, but I'm 12 seconds off of being able to use a Divine Super Combat that will take it out of my inventory and give me enough space to be able to switch my weapon to the SGS. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. Switch, and then double spec to get my health and prayer back. And the hilarious thing is, I'm probably going to have to drop some of these prey potions just to get them out of my inventory to have enough inventory space to continue fighting these. I mean, we'll see, but... So yeah, this is pretty much how I've made my money sailing so far. I've made a little bit here and there doing other things. The swift, albatross feathers are not terrible right now. They're about 1.8 million. And they're a 1 in 30, but they're a naval combat enemy that are kind of a pain to fight. The best that I've found is using a Venator bow and 2 cannons. And I might make a video on that a little bit later on today if I really feel like it. But I gotta tell you, even at 5 mil, with, or 4 mil, whatever these are worth right now, this seems like this is the way to go to me. And I'll take a real quick look here. It looks like, yeah, it looks like the high was about 5.3 million recently, and they're currently 4 million. Chances are they'll drop pretty far, but I don't know, maybe they'll hold around 1 million or 2. I can't really complain about getting 1 in 38 KC, though. Might have lost aggro. It's a little bit hard to tell because, as I say, they seem to have a fairly short aggro range. I'm just thematically going to pretend that they have bad eyesight because they're like an underground worm enemy. And that because of that, they just can't seem to attack me from a distance. Yeah, this one's still aggressive. This is fine. Something to note, by the way, they do actually have a superior variant, and I did fight one because I thought that these would be a Slayer-only enemy. Foolish me. I came to this island, and I'd actually saved a worm task from before Sailing came out, thinking, okay, I'll be able to fight lava StrykeWorms, maybe I'll get lucky, I might get, like, a drop from them. That'd be cool. And when I came here and did them on task, when I finished my task, I fought a couple more of them and was like, oh, it's gonna stop me, right? Oh, it's not stopping me. Okay, I guess I live here now. There we go. And this is pretty much where I've lived for most of my sailing adventure. I've done most of my leveling up through salvaging. I've done a couple of the trials up to Jubbly Jive Tier 2. I haven't even bothered to try the Marlin one because I don't care about the flag. And I gotta tell you, I'm pretty impressed with sailing. The XP rates on release were terrible, but everything that worked correctly worked really nice. I mean, the navigation of the boats is really clean. The lag at the trials is really fun to watch people complain about. Not so much fun to do, but I mean, you gotta take enjoyment where you can get it, right? Speaking of enjoyment, there's another 11,000 coins for a rune med helm. We're up to 62,000 in alkables so far. I wasn't originally looting lava runes until I looked at my loot tracker and realized that I'd missed 22,000 of them. So, now I loot lava runes. And as I say, I'm not an Iron Man enjoyer. I've kind of dabbled a little bit, but it wasn't for me. But if this looks like the kind of loot that would be useful to an Iron Man, then by all means go ahead and try this out. You don't need the Dragon Hunter Lance here. It's only a 20% bonus against dragons, I think. But it helps. I mean, if you don't have it, you could totally do this with a whip or really just about anything. Their defenses are really low. There's no reason to bring a defense-reducing spec weapon at all because they only have 150 HP anyway. Not really sure that there's much of a use for rune knives for most people, but you never know. We might get some sort of knife cannon or something in the future, or... Honestly, the one thing I want to see added to boats is javelin so I can have a harpoon gun, but we'll let Jagex just kind of stew with their current updates for right now. They'll probably just be updating sailing for the next 6 months and making sure everything that's broken works right. And hopefully not changing these StrykeWorms at all, because this is my new favorite place to sort of semi-AFK. Like, when people say, oh, salvaging is AFK. No. This is AFK. You can AFK here for, in my opinion, up to 60 seconds, because if you get a drop and it's on the ground, it's there for more than 60 seconds, someone else can take it. That would be rough. I fully expect this area to be, like, massively, massively botted when everyone kind of catches up and everything kind of gets going. And I'm really hoping that isn't the case. See, Jagex has an opportunity right now where 90% of the people that are doing sailing are real people, and the other 10% of the player base right now is probably people botting other content. I've heard a lot of people talking about how 416 for Theater of Blood is pretty much empty. It's almost impossible to get a team with randoms right now, and I'm sure that'll get better. But I also have to feel like there was probably still bots running 24/7 in all worlds. And if Jagex didn't take the opportunity to kind of take a look at some of that behavior while everyone else is out sailing, I'd be a little disappointed. I'm sure they're on it, though. Anyway, this is the maybe 25-minute point, somewhere in that area. We're not quite up to half. Realistically, I guess 1 hour of combat here would be the use of 3 full Divine Super Combat Potions. So we'll just use that as a measure of what 1 hour is. I know that I might have been just a little bit late with the second one that I took, but if we're 2 or 3 minutes over an hour, does it really matter? If you're really that bothered by it, then just subtract like 2 or 3 from my final kill count. Wait a minute. I've killed 61 of them? Wait, how long do these last? These are 5 minutes per dose, so they're 20 minutes per potion. So I've used 22 minutes up so far. Okay. Sorry, I just had a little moment there. I thought I was killing them a lot faster than that for a second. Anyway, maybe we'll get ourselves another Dragon Metal sheet off of this kill. That'd be nice. But as you can see, the SGS has been completely sustaining me. We're back up to 76 prayer off of that. Haven't touched a single sip of potions. And if I look at my XP per hour, which I really should have reset before I did this, then I'm not sure at all what's happening. I'm just going to go ahead and reset that, and we'll check on that in a little while and just sort of see what kind of prayer XP per hour I'm getting. Mind you, I could also just do math at the end of it. I know everyone loves math, with an A, not an E. But 60 prayer points per kill, times however many of these that I've been able to kill in an hour, should give us an approximate amount of XP per hour for prayer. It's a super inefficient way to train prayer if you're really trying for 99, but man, you would make just an absolute boatload of money if you did 99 prayer here. And realistically, how many prayer options do you really have that are going to make you 3 to 5 mil an hour? Probably not a lot. So let's say you're doing this, and you get your dragon metal sheet, and you want to immediately go and sell that. What do? Now, the problem is, Charred Island doesn't actually have a way to teleport directly to it. So, you have a couple of options. Option 1 is you put the teleport focus on your boat. You don't put anything in your boat's cargo hold, and then you just teleport your boat with the teleport boat, summon boat, whatever, spell, whenever you want to go to a new port. So, for example, I could just leave my boat behind right now, tab out, go to the Grand Exchange or whatever, sell this dragon metal sheet and come back. But how do I get back here? So the fastest way that I've seen is to go to pest control. There's a dock there, and then summon the boat to the dock that you're about to disembark from, and then just go pretty much straight south. I don't know if the map lets me open it while I'm in combat. Let's see. I feel like it didn't used to, so this is a nice upgrade. Yeah, perfect. So here's Charred Island. Here's pest control. So you just go from the Void Knight outpost up here, come around the rocks, head almost completely straight south, and come back to the docking point. Now, it's a bit of a pain, I'll admit, but that's why I'm not going to teleport out every single time I get a dragon metal sheet. I used to, but they also used to be 20 million each. Now, there is actually one faster way that you can do it, but it requires a higher sailing level than I have, and more money than I'm willing to spend on it right now. Let me just open up a second tab here and check on the price of the bottle of storms. Or the bottled storm, excuse me, while I take this run. Go ahead and use our next Divine Super Combat. And... oh, I guess I'm under attack, so I should be good now. Not 100% confident that I actually lost aggro that time, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Better to reset now and then anyway. This one's attacking me, so we'll go ahead and dump 2 specs on it. Switch over to melee prayer. I don't actually know what their max hit with melee is. Like, realistically, if you're in melee armor, they are not much of a threat. You don't need Dragonfire protection, obviously. Doesn't seem to do anything against the ranged attack. Like, I don't... oh, it hit a 7. Okay, finally. You know what I mean? Like, these things are practically a joke if you're in decent armor. Right, that's what I was going to do. I was going to look up the bottle of storm, so... bottled storm, my mistake. It is down to 57 million coins at the time of recording this video. And it does, it's an item that's used in crafting something for your boat that's called the Greater Teleport Focus. And the wiki entry for it pretty much sums it up, and it says it's a buildable facility where players can teleport their player-owned boat to their assigned dock location, and the player to inside the boat. So what I'm understanding that to mean is, if you have the Greater Teleport Focus, and you park a boat on Charred Island, you now have a teleport directly to that boat on Charred Island. If it doesn't work like that, then I'd be quite disappointed, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it's supposed to work. Which means, if you have a boat with a Greater Teleport Focus and you park it here, then, well, pop on by. Looks like you need 75 sailing to be able to construct it, so chances are if you got 75 sailing, you might be better off just going for 87 and fighting the new ice dragons. I think they're called frost dragons or something. But I just don't feel like leveling that another 20 levels, and by the time I'm 87, these are probably only going to be a mil apiece anyway, so we'll see. You can see that I'm missing 10 HP, something like that, so now that that one's downed, go ahead and slap this one with a grand total of 1 damage. Fantastic. I think this is a minimum that it heals me, actually. Not entirely sure. I haven't really used a Saradomin Godsword much, if I'm being completely honest. This is probably the most I've ever used one. So I'll take a look on the wiki. This is how AFK this is. I've got my second monitor up. I'm taking a look on the wiki for random information. I'm looking up prices of items. There's literally nothing I have to worry about for 5.5 minutes. Like, if I completely AFK'd here for 5 minutes, my prayer might drain. But as long as I'm in combat, I'm going to get 3 prayer back every time that I defeat one of these, so chances are I would probably end up sustaining my prayer long enough to lose aggro here before I would ever actually die if I fully AFK'd. Which feels a little bit maybe like something they're likely to patch, but come on, Jagex, just let us have fun, you know? Anyway, looking at the SGS. Any hit below 22 damage will always heal the player for 10 HP and restore 5 prayer points. I didn't know that. That's really good to know. That's probably something I should have known for the last 5 to 10 years, but oops. Alright, just based on potion usage, we should be somewhere around the halfway point here. We are up to 9,500 XP an hour in prayer, actually a lot more than I expected it to be. And we're at 81 kills in about a half an hour, so we're on track for about 150 to 160 KC per hour. Which, actually pretty decent, all things considered. That's about an average of one of these, what, every 3 hours? Unless you're me, then you just get them once an hour for some reason. But as I say, I'm not completely convinced that the drop rate isn't a 1 in 256 here. Mr. No Sleep got horrible luck on his 1000 KC, but I don't know, maybe he fought them somewhere else. Maybe there's an area of this cave that just has crap RNG, and this area has really good RNG. I have no idea. Oops. 2 SGS specs to dump. We got a 44 into a 0. Disappointing. Just to rub it in a little bit further here, I have still not touched a single dose of Prey Pot. I've not used a single piece of food, and the only thing that I've consumed other than my own actual time is Bone Crusher charges. I don't really know how I would make this any more efficient. If you have suggestions in the comments, by all means, tell me how would you improve upon the setup, aside from obviously having higher strength gear. I think an Altor ring would probably be a lot better than a light bearer, given that I'm only really using SGS specs, but a Bellator is, I guess it's a sort of a viable option because it gives you slash accuracy and helps to make sure the SGS specs land. But I can't imagine it's that big of a difference, realistically. And yeah, I could probably go and get an Inferno Cape at some point. That'd be an obvious upgrade here. One thing that you can do if you want to have this be a little bit less AFK is you can bring an Amulet of Rancor in your inventory and wear it, and then just before the enemy dies, switch to the Bone Crusher necklace so that you're wearing the Bone Crusher necklace. Now, maybe I'm just misremembering this, but I could swear that Jagex put out an update a while ago that made it so that if you had the Bone Crusher necklace in your inventory and you equipped it, then it wouldn't start giving you prayer back for a set amount of time. But if I take this off, and maybe it's just in the Catacombs of Kurand, I'm not really sure, but if I take this off and immediately put it on as this thing dies, 62 just went to 65 on my prayer, so it definitely works if you put it on just before the enemy dies or whatever. It doesn't seem to have any kind of a time limitation before it starts to work, but to be honest, I'm loving this because this is a super AFK money-making option. Not because it's something that I want to sweat with. So I'm more than happy to pick up items, high alchem every once in a while, keep an eye out, listen for the little jingle of getting a nice dragon metal sheet drop. I'm probably not going to be willing to switch gear twice per lava StrykeWorm. And just for the sake of it, for anyone curious, lava runs down its body is the examine text on these. 2 minutes left on our super combat. We're almost through 2 of them so far. And at the start of this, I bet a few of you were thinking to yourself, there's no bloody way that he's able to use literally 0 supplies, but SGS and Lightbearer goes really, really hard. I suppose you could probably summon thralls and use the Book of the Dead and maybe use Death Charge or even double Death Charge here for spec. But I gotta feel like you'd be way better off using a standard spellbook so that you can have high alchemy. Or at least that's what I've found to work a lot better for me. If you weren't high alching, then you would either lose a ton of money off of, I mean, I'm up to 123k off just the high alks pretty well. You would either lose a bunch of money that way, or, I don't know, I guess you could bring an explorer's ring if you're not going to be here for more than, like, a slayer task or something like that, but I don't know. That just strikes me as a problematic approach. So this is another good point here. If you're using an Altor ring, these occasionally will drop a chili potato. It's not an especially good healing food. I think it might be 16 that it heals, but it can sort of help to offset if you're getting a little bit low, like if you're like 40, 50, 60 HP. It might be a good idea to just kind of keep an eye out for those chili potatoes, or maybe mark them or something so that when they drop you can see them a little easier. And for those of you that are a little newer to RuneScape and RuneLite, you hold down the Alt key and you press the plus button. That's how you mark an item so that it shows up on the ground like that. That's why a couple of mine are purple. The rune knives and the lava runes, speaking of. I think I might have also tagged the dragon arrow tips, because if 2 of them drop, or I think maybe even 3 of them drop, then it's below the loot threshold that I've got set to show up on the ground. And that's why we have auto retaliate, because if I attack a worm and a different worm attacks me, I just charge right at it. Anyway, I've got 4 more doses of Super Divine Combat to get through before we'll have been here for a full hour, if my math is mathin'. So stay tuned. Maybe we'll get ourselves a second Dragon Metal Sheet. And if we don't, we don't. We'll do a little bit of math and see what kind of money we're making. I'll head over to the Grand Exchange at the end and see what this is actually going to sell for, and then maybe I'll even sail back just to sort of show how to get back here for the sake of it. Oh, second chili potato. It's a little embarrassing, but the first time that I came here, I brought, like, I massively overestimated the lava StrykeWorms, let's put it that way. It was pretty early on in sailing, so really not a whole lot of people had gotten here yet. Well, a lot of people had gotten here yet, but the people that had got here were people that were trying to level up and get out of the level 50, 60, 70 bracket, so not a lot of people stayed here past a couple KC. So I do feel like I really lucked out getting onto these as soon as I did, but as I was saying, the first attempt at them, I massively overgeared. I think I ended up bringing an Amulet of Blood Fury, a Dragonfire Ward, or not a Dragonfire Ward, sorry, a Dragonfire Shield, used to being a ranger. I think I had brought, like, Thralls, Brews, Restores, like, I was ready for a fight. And then I showed up and prayed and realized that they don't hit through prayer. So I left and came back with a mage setup because I just happened to have a Dragon Hunter 1 in my bank at the time. And it hit well, like, it does do good damage. It's a totally fantastic and viable option to use against these if you want to. But it's more work. I mean, you gotta go through runes, you gotta spend money on things like that. You probably are gonna end up with a little bit less inventory space depending on how you want to set things up. I guess you could probably use combo runes actually, never mind what I just said, but regardless, if you want to Dragon Hunter 1 them, go nuts, have fun. I'll just be over here AFKing and using nothing. Let's have a little peek at the XP rates. Yeah, we're almost at 10,000, not Slayer, but Prayer XP an hour here, which feels ridiculous, for the record. So knowing that we get 60 prayer XP every time that we kill one, if I take a look at this and it's at 96.26 right now, so 96.26 divided by 60 means that we should be at 160.43 kills an hour. So that's kind of neat. That's about 40 more an hour than I was expecting. I thought I'd be about 120, maybe 130 if we were doing well. If you had a Slayer helm on and you were on task, you could probably knock that task out, even with the extended worms that are, I think it assigns around 200. You could probably knock that out in just over an hour for the extra damage and accuracy, but realistically, I'm finding that I barely miss as it is. So I don't really know that there'd be much point to it. We're back up to 100 spec, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of these. 35, nice. I'm really confused that more people don't use the Bone Crusher necklace. I can count on my left hand how many times I've seen someone other than myself using this in an actual, like, combat situation like this. And it really kind of pains me that so much of RuneScape comes down to it doesn't matter what my armor is, it doesn't matter what my defenses are, it doesn't matter what utility I have, as long as I have 3 more strength, it doesn't matter. I mean, looking at this thing, this is not bad. Like, +2 melee strength is low. Don't get me wrong, that's not great. But 12 prayer, 10 accuracy across the board, and 2 melee strength? Come on now. That's getting up to the point of, like, usably good, and then you remember that it has the utility of giving you free prayer back? Come on. Now, I will say there is something that you can do with the lava StrykeWorm bones that I don't, but you could if you really want to maximize the amount of prayer XP that you get here for a lot more work. If you loot them into your inventory and then use a chisel on them, they turn into, I think it's blessed bone shards? Whatever those things are that you get from Doom. And you can use those to train your prayer XP up pretty fast if you really want to. I think it ends up giving you about 150 prayer XP per kill worth of bone shards. Maybe it's more than that. I don't know. All I know is I'm getting 10,000 prayer XP an hour to AFK a monster that I basically don't use supplies killing. So, if you really want to take the necklace off, and I'm actually going to take the necklace off for this, well, I'll take it off when we're a little closer to the end of it. But I'll take the necklace off for one kill just to take a look at the worm bones that drop. Anytime now. 8 health. 3 health. Okay, 5. That's fair. I was gonna say, if I manage to hit a 1 right now, I'm gonna be embarrassed. So that goes down to 36 as my max. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot that the Bone Crusher necklace actually is still just a Bone Crusher when it's in your inventory. Doesn't matter. They're worm bones. Like, you can go and look them up on the wiki if you're really curious about what kind of XP and value and stats and everything they have. They're actually not worm bones, I'm an idiot. They're StrykeWorm bones. I'm really hopeful that Jagex doesn't nerf this, because frankly this is at least top 3 for my favorite piece of content that's come out from Sailing, because I'm a really big fan of having second monitor content that can make me good money. Even if these drop fairly far, if this is like, even if it's like a couple mil an hour, that's still decent. Like right now, Vorkath at max melee is 3.5 to 4 mil an hour. I've been getting a Dragon Metal sheet about once every hour here. So, oh, I'm not actually potted, whoops. So, I'm basically making, like, similar money to fighting Vorkath right now for AFKing this mob. And granted, I'm clicking now and then. It's not literally AFK. I'm sure there's going to be people that are, oh, you're not AFKing, you're having to elk things and loot things and occasionally reset aggro and all that kind of thing. Well, yeah, but people call, like, woodcutting AFK, but you still have to do woodcutting and forestry events, you still have to deal with banking the logs, or dropping the logs, even more work. You know what I mean? So it's this community's interpretation of AFK that I'm working off of. I feel like I may have lost aggro here. So I'm going to just sort of walk around the room a bit. Yeah, I've definitely lost aggro. And I'll take just an extra couple of seconds and run a little bit further into this room because this is a really cool looking room. There's bones on the floor that say, big teeth. We got a couple of chests over here that don't currently do anything, that may in the future, I'm not really sure. I don't know, I really like the look of this dungeon. It's giving me kind of Arizona vibes with the weird giant band of rubium in the center of it. And we're back. Missing a little bit of prayer now because I ran around like an imbecile, but that's fine. I've effectively used enough prayer to where I could sip a pray potion now. And it's been 45 minutes. So, yeah. I'm pretty okay with this. You know what the worst of it is? I think about the other things that I've done for moneymakers in this game, and some of them are fun, some of them are just not. Some of them I've had good luck at, and some of them are Tombs of a Mascot. The reason that I bring up TOA, I have had, in my opinion, pretty horrible luck with purples here. Don't mind the fact that I've got almost 300 normal completions. I decided that I was going to get the yellow Karis gem before I started doing experts, and then I didn't get it until like 250 KC. So, yeah. But that aside, if you look at this, I got 9 light bearers, 2 fangs, 2 Eladini's wards, and 2 pants. Now, I'm thankful that I got any purples, don't get me wrong, but that just feels really rough. Now, if you want to do yourself a favor, don't do math. Because, like, most of these were solos. We'll call it an average of 35 minutes. 35 times these numbers added up is a lot more than I ever should have probably spent in the Tombs of a Mascot. And then you consider that 7 of these dropped when these were a mil each. So, and these both dropped when they were like 10-ish, I think, 12-ish, somewhere in that area. So altogether, and one of these I had to split actually, so this is maybe 40 mil, 50 mil, something like that, probably closer to 40 mil with the split included there. These are worthless, that might be another 6 in total. And then this is another 13-ish, so about 19, and then this is maybe another 20 mil. So I've made more at Lava StrykeWorms in a day than I probably have to date doing the Tombs of a Mascot. And, yeah, that's pretty rough. Granted, I did do these pretty early on release. Like, I got very lucky with the drops that I got and the fact that I just happened across these right at the right time. Like, when I started fighting these, the sheets were only like 18. And the first one I sold, I think I sold at 20, 21 million, something like that. And right after that, they ramped right up to 24, 25 million. I sold one of them at the peak there, and I just kept fighting these for like 8 hours after that. Out of curiosity, I'll refresh this again. It looks like they are dropping again. In the time that I've been recording this video, they've actually dropped about 240k, 250k. Looks like buy price is right on 4 mil, sell price is 3.8. So they might bobble around a little bit. As long as these are more than 2 to 3 mil, I would say this is an absolutely viable money-making method. Especially if you want to just kind of set a character here. Like, I'm not really big on multi-boxing, but for people that are, I think this is basically going to be Gargoyles 2.0. No one going to attack me? This is what I mean about their aggro being kind of weird. I had to step diagonally 1 block from this one before it could attack me. But I think it was because this one over here was standing beside it. Like, if I go ahead and tag these and then tag them with tile, how big does that show them as? Okay. I wasn't really sure how big it would show them as, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like that was what was going on, is it just couldn't see me, because this one can. And I managed to hit a 1. Fantastic. One other good weapon that's good here that I've seen other people using to some success that I have not actually bothered to try is the Crystal Halberd. So, or Chally, if you prefer the Crystal Halberd, Chally, whatever you want to call it. I've seen people use it here. It looked like it did pretty nasty damage to them. But at the same time, I'm just a big fan of SGS specs. They have the potential to hit pretty hard. They heal you for tons of health and prayer. I mean, what's not to like? We are probably about 8.5 minutes away from the 1 hour mark, and I still haven't used any supplies whatsoever. I really want to check what the loot tracker's showing right now, but I'm trying my best not to just constantly be checking up on it. Another light bulb doorknob. Depending on what orientation you're looking at it from. About the hardest thing about these is remembering not to SGS spec when they have lower than like 50 HP or so. I'm not gonna lie, I SGS spec'd a lot of them when they were at like 10 HP when I was starting this out. I'm gonna mark rune darts as well because I'm just now noticing that some of them, depending on the quantity, are just a little bit below my value threshold for picking them up. I'd rather not waste 4,000 coins sitting on the ground or whatever that was. I'm also not entirely convinced that rune cannonballs are 3,000 coins. I feel like they might be more. Let me have a real quick look while we AFK these. Oh, okay, no, they are 3,000 coins. They've just plummeted in value, I guess. They were, well, no, okay, never mind. I thought they were more than that. They were sitting at about 3,600 for a couple of days there. I think a lot of people are getting into naval combat, and I think those people just do not give a damn what they pay for cannonballs. I don't know about anyone watching this, but I tried my hand at a little bit of armored krakens, great whites, orcas, things like that. And the lower tier enemies absolutely get shredded by the cannon, but I felt like armored krakens were just a waste of cannonballs. The last time that I tried to fight them, in fairness, I was using a steel cannon with steel cannonballs, and out of 500 shots, I think I hit like maybe 25 of them, and that's being pretty generous. And the shots that actually landed hit like 1 damage typically. Now, having said that, I've now upgraded to mithril cannons, and I'm seeing a night and day difference against certain enemies. The only thing that I've really used the cannons to fight is ospreys, but I'm seeing like 6, 7, the occasional 8. But it also might be because my deckhands have got higher privateering levels. There's just so much information about sailing that wasn't really overly clear on release that has just sort of gradually come out that people are learning more and more about, like the fact that, oh, I shouldn't probably spec at 29 HP, but we're gonna. Okay, or somehow we hit more than 20. That's fine, whatever. Anyway, what I was saying was there are some things that we just are still learning at this point. I mean, it's only the 25th today of November, so sailing's only been out for like 6 days, 5 days, something like that. Privateering levels, though, on your crew members is, it's an interesting one. I've currently got 2 crew members with privateering level 4, which means they should be able to shoot any of the kinds of cannons, but if the wiki is to be believed, they actually deal more damage with a higher privateering level. So I'm a little bit tempted to retry Krakens with... I might wait until I get to adamant cannons. I think I'm fairly close to it right now, actually. Are cannons not boat parts? Okay, Jagex, what are they counted as? Sailing, boats, ports, mooring points, port tasks, sea charting, salvaging, trials, core boat parts. Oh, is it a facility? Yeah, let me use the cannon facility. That makes lots of sense. Anyway, 57 for mithril, and 69 for adamant, so I need another 2 more levels. It's not too bad. At 69 plus, I might retry some krakens or maybe some great whites or something like that and see if the adamant cannons are any better. But I will say that most people that I've talked to that have used any of the upgraded cannonballs have told me that it's just a good way to hemorrhage money right now. Steel cannonballs are cheap and they're lower damage, but if you're shooting a few thousand of them over an hour, then they're probably the way to go. I think that's the lowest that my health has dipped to in the last hour. And that was just because I took 2 ranged attacks and, you know, whoops, basically. Not sure how long I've been not divine super combated, but whoopsie daisy. What I might do is just go for exactly 160 KC, just on the basis that when I wasn't screwing anything up, my prayer XP was showing that I was getting 160 KC an hour almost exactly, so we're at 9250 right now. And if I grab the calculator again and do 9250 divided by the 60 XP that I should be getting per, it's showing that I've actually gone down to 154.1 kills per hour. But I'm going to go for 160 KC and call that an hour. I think that's pretty reasonable because I was getting just a little over 160 KC per hour, like halfway through this. And plus, on top of that, if you have better spec weapons or higher strength gear, or, you know, if you're just somehow better at this than me, then you probably could get more than 160 KC an hour. I was kind of hoping that I was going to be able to pull 2 of these in an hour just to kind of raise the middle finger flag at a couple of the Iron Men, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen today. Another thing that I probably should be looting is these Adamantite ores, but I just didn't have enough inventory space for the first few that dropped, and it is what it is. Can also probably loot the Chaos and Death runes that drop here, but again, I just don't bother. I don't think it's a substantial difference in value anyway. I'm going to keep this open just to make sure that we're... Okay, so we need 10 more. Just didn't want to massively overdo it there, you know? It's unusual. I think I just hit 3 zeros in a row. Might have only been 2, but it feels remarkable to miss these things more than once in a row. Like, to have 2 misses or more in a row feels notable, I guess, because it almost never happens. It has 49 HP. We can throw a spec at it. There we go, full HP again. So there's a lot of things that they could do to make these more engaging or less AFKable. And I'm not trying to give Jagex any ideas on this one, I'm just sort of speculating about things that I expect they're actually going to change. For example, Lava StrikeWorm bones probably could give 2 instead of 3 prayer back, similar to big bones, if they really wanted to. They could give these things the attack that the superior has, which is actually quite cool. If you're on Slayer task and you get the superior StrikeWorm, when it gets to, I'm not sure if it's time-based or if it's HP-based, because I was only actually able to spawn and fight one of them, but at certain intervals throughout the fight, it buries itself under the ground. It basically does Diglett use dig, and buries itself under the ground and then comes underneath of you and jumps up. No idea how much damage it'll do, I wasn't about to find that out firsthand. But it's a really cool mechanic for an enemy. It reminds me a little bit about the, what do you call it, the Inferno, the, like, Scyther things with the melee and the claw hands, or whatever the hell they are. I couldn't tell you the names of any of those enemies, I've only ever really done the Inferno in Leagues. But it reminds me a little bit of how they dig and then pop back up in different places, but just slightly less jank. I don't know how to explain it, it seemed like it worked better. We're at 154, so I need another 5 kills after this one, and then we'll be all set. Dragon metal sheets are kinda holding a little bit. It looks like they're holding at 3.8 to 4 mil. I'd somewhat expected to refresh that and see that they dropped like 150k again, but apparently not. I have seen them as low at this time as like 1.5, 1.7 mil. I really don't know where these are going to land though. See, the thing of it is, they jumped up to 25 mil, I think because a lot of the people that were grinding for 99 initially had just sort of decided to try for some dragon stuff on their boat and basically bought out the entire market while maybe one or two people were trying to merch the damn things. And ever since then, there just hasn't been a lot of people buying them. I think a lot of people are just trying to be patient and wait for them to come down in price. Now, the Krakens can drop dragon keel and large dragon keel parts, or something similar to that. I think that's what it is. So you don't really need to use dragon metal sheets for that. And frost dragons drop dragon nails, so you shouldn't really need that many for that, which pretty much just leaves all the dragon metal sheets that you need for the other crafting, like the salvage hook and the cannon and all that BS. And eventually we're going to hit a point where everyone kind of has those things, or at least enough people have them that they're not super valuable anymore. But that might take a while, because as time goes on, more and more and more people are going to be getting to that point. Think about it like prayer scrolls coming out of the chambers of Zarek. 5 years ago, Arcane and whatever the one for Rigor, Dexterous prayer scrolls, they were worth tons. I think I paid like over 70 mil for mine back when 70 mil was a little more than what it's worth these days in terms of buying power. But now they've kind of dropped because most people have those unlocked. In the same way that I think these dragon metal sheets are going to gradually drop and drop and drop as more people get things unlocked and more people get access to the content where they'd be using them. So we're an hour into this fight here. We got 227k in bones and 156k from the dragon metal sheet that we're not going to count into this. So we should be at about 600k. Because my boat, I think, has no cargo on it, I hope anyway, I'm going to go ahead and teleport out of here, head over to the Grand Exchange. I will refresh the price index for these dragon metal sheets, and it looks like they're actually up to 4.1 mil. How nice. Most recent trade was at 4,025,000. So I'm going to put mine up at 4,050,000. And it insta-sold at 4.1 mil. So there you go. Those are still going at a decent price. I don't know if I can pull my history down far enough to show... No, I can't show where I was selling the last 10 of them, but you'll just have to take my word for it that it was selling at a very high price comparatively. But that means that we basically made somewhere in the ballpark of 4.6 mil. Now, if we ignore the 4.1 mil that I threw into my bank, I guess I could also just do this and just add all of the things that we actually looted so you can get a more realistic value of what we ended up making. So we made 391,000, which seems really low. Did I miss something? What's going on here? All right, well, we made 400k effectively, and we used up in supplies 3 divine super combats. So we used up 60k, so we made somewhere around 350,000 coins in tertiary drops from the hour. But we also did get the dragon metal sheet, so as long as that's at a decent price, I think this is a super decent method, and I encourage you to try it before it gets changed, patched, or otherwise. Just in case you, for some reason, are watching the end of the video instead of the start, this is the only real necessary item for this, is the Dragon Bone Necklace combined with the Bone Crusher, which gives you the Bone Crusher Necklace. For you Iron Men, you're going to have to get a 1 in 800, I think, drop from Vorkath. And from people that already have the Bone Crusher on a main, the Dragon Bone Necklace, last I checked, is under a mil. Yeah, it's 100k. There is absolutely no excuse for you to not buy this and combine it with your Bone Crusher if you happen to have one. If you haven't done Mauritania Elites, then I guess you'll get half the XP, so it'll only be about 5,000 XP an hour in prayer. But over the course of that hour, keeping in mind that I reset these stats at, partway through, we were getting around 10,000 prayer XP an hour, and it's still just sort of creeping down. and reasonably decent combat stats all around, somewhere around 30k an hour in shared, so about 90,000 plus the 30,000 an hour in health, and virtually nothing in magic because that's just from the odd high elk that I was casting. If you like this video, or if you want to see some more I'm going to go and fight some random monster for an hour type of content, then let me know in the comments. And until next time, I don't know why I said that. That was a really bad outro. See you next time.